Your lecturer is Dr. Hans Friedrich Mueller. Dr. Mueller serves as the Thomas B. Lamont Professor of Ancient and Modern Literature and Chair of the Department of Classics at Union College in Schenectady, New York. He earned his Ph.D. in Latin from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Under Dr. Mueller's direction, the Union College program in Classics has been noted for its interdisciplinary curriculum, and the professor is a recipient of the American Philological Association's Award for Excellence in the Teaching of Classics at the college level. In addition to numerous articles, Dr. Mueller is the author of Roman Religion in Valerius Maximus and the editor of an abridged edition of Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire.
Salvete, greetings. Salvete discipuli, greetings male students. Salvete discipuli, greetings female students. Salvete discipuli discipulique linguae Latinae, greetings students of the Latin language. Nomen mihi est Molinarius. Born a Mueller, you can call me Molinarius, the Latin word from which both Mueller and Miller derive. Unlike my ancestors, however, I grind not grain, but ancient languages. We aim in this course to introduce ancient Latin, the language of such politicians as Cicero and Caesar, the poets Catullus, Virgil, and Ovid, such church fathers as Augustine, Jerome, and Arnobius of Sicca. Not to mention countless other authors, ancient, medieval, and early modern. For thousands of years, the Mediterranean, Northern Europe, and the world spoke Latin. Even after the fall of the Roman Empire, when the Venerable Bede wanted to write the history of England, he wrote in Latin, not English, which didn't even exist yet, at least not in a form we can understand today. And when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses on the church door in Wittenberg, did he use the ephemeral German dialect of his day? Nein, überhaupt nicht. He used something more permanent. He used Latin. What about modern physics? Can you say Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica? Okay, fair enough. Probably not, or you wouldn't be considering this course. But that was the title of the book, the Latin book, in which Isaac Newton laid out his laws of motion and the universal law of gravitation. Even today, more than 2/3 of English vocabulary derives from Latin. It's the foreign language that lies at the center of our intellectual traditions, and it's the foreign language we speak every day, whether we're aware of it or not. But Latin remains around us in the original as well. Simple example, university mottos. I did my doctoral work at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Its motto, Lux Libertas. Light, liberty. Lux is now a technical word in English that refers to units of light in photometry. Libertas has been beaten up a bit over the centuries and has emerged in English as liberty. When Brutus minted a coin to celebrate the assassination of Julius Caesar, what word did he put on his coin? Libertas. When Pope Benedict resigned in 2013, he made his announcement in Latin and said, I declare of my own free will, or more literally, with full freedom, plena libertate, that I renounce my post. Plena libertate declaro, me commissum renuntiare. And there it was, liberty, libertas, more than 2,000 years later in a live broadcast in all its classical or ecclesiastical Latin glory. That's Gloria for us Latin buffs. Need I mention our famous statue of Libertas? Freedom in English is a substantive or noun form that derives from the adjective free, and libertas is likewise a substantive that derives from the adjective liber, which in Latin means free. So liberal? Our class smart aleck asks. Already? He asks as someone who wants everything for free. I'm not taking the bait. Try this one instead. A liberal education is one fit for what kind of person? A person who enjoys the privilege of personal freedom or liberty. That's the kind of free we're talking about. And the liberal arts? The skills useful to a person who enjoys the status of a free person. The liberal arts and a liberal education are reserved for people in free societies because there's not much point in teaching slaves to think for themselves. Their masters prefer to do the thinking for them. In the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, its motto, Lux Libertas, has obviously resonated across the ages. But we can find Latin in plenty of other places too. How about a US penny? E pluribus unum, out of the many one. Sure, everyone knows it, but who really understands it word for word? You, my friends, are on your way. And the Great Seal of the United States on the back of a dollar bill? Take a look. There's an eyeball floating above a pyramid. Above the eye, Annuit Coeptis. Below the pyramid, Novus Ordo Seclorum. What do these phrases mean? They refer to the American Revolution as a turning point. Annuit Coeptis refers to the eye of good fortune that has approved the undertakings of the revolutionaries. In the phrase below the pyramid, it refers to a new order of the ages, Novus Ordo Seclorum, because the revolutionaries believed that their revolution was the dawning of a new age. Goodbye monarchy, goodbye tyranny, hello republic. The founding fathers knew their Latin, as did most great thinkers, writers, poets, and scientists until relatively recent times. You may have heard some other phrases here and there. Habeas corpus, literally, you should have your body. Tabula rasa, a blank slate. Persona non grata, a person not pleasing. CV, curriculum vitae, or curriculum vitae. Literally, the racetrack of life. Rat race would work too. And the Pope? Pope still publishes in Latin. Why? Stable vocabulary, stable grammar. For more than 2,000 years. Seek and ye shall find. Latin is everywhere. Can you say eternal in Latin? Aeterna. But you're skeptical. You've heard that old saw that Latin is dead as dead can be. First it killed the Romans, and now it's killing me. Please allow me to recite the first lines of a short poem in Latin. One we will read together in Lesson 12. And you tell me whether this language sounds dead or alive. Vivumus meales viaquamemus, rumoresque senum severiorum, unius aestimemus assis. Sole sociret redire possunt. Novis cum semel occadit brevis lux, nox est perpetuuna dormienda. Contrary to whatever reports you may have heard, Latin is hardly dead. Latin lives on. Can you think of the languages? Latin lives on in Italian, French, Spanish, Romanian, Rhaeto-Romance, Catalan, and Haitian Creole, but also in English. The only reason people do not clamor for and demand Latin is because they do not know what they are missing. But you do, and that's why you're here. The aim in this course is to introduce pronunciation, morphology, syntax, vocabulary, and authentic Latin texts with their cultural context. All this will enable you to appreciate the mysteries that lurk in the words we use every day, and to unlock the even greater treasures hidden in the original Latin. This will involve some work, of course, but with my help and your efforts, the pleasures along the way should be many and instructive. And hey, pain can be pleasurable too. Would the simple act of drawing breath feel as good if no one had ever held our heads underwater until we were convinced that we were about to drown? That didn't happen to you? Well, think of something else then. But where to begin? We have to begin at the beginning. God is, or for you pre-Christian Romanists, the gods are in the details. True understanding is complete understanding. And what represents the beginning for budding Latinists? The letters. The letters we use to represent the sounds that constitute the beautiful and eternal Latin language. And to make Latin sound beautiful, we must know what sounds to make when we see Latin letters. Incipiamus. Let's begin, shall we, with the letters and sounds that make up the Roman alphabet. The Romans adapted a West Greek alphabet. And the Greeks, of course, likely got their alphabet from Phoenicians, a Semitic people inhabiting coastal areas that we now call Lebanon. We can still hear Greek and Semitic connections in our own word for alphabet, which derives from the first two letters of the Greek alphabet, A and B, or alpha and beta, corresponding in their turn to, for example, aleph and beth in the Hebrew alphabet. But hey, do not panic. We don't have to learn these rather different alphabets, because, as a matter of fact, we use the Roman alphabet ourselves. So you have no new letters to learn. But we will have to adjust some of the sounds for restored classical pronunciation. And to make things simple, we are only going to discuss letters that have sounds different from their pronunciation in English. We are going to discuss vowels because English vowels are a mess, and we will discuss also the consonants C, G, I, and V. And no, I did not make an error. I is more than just a vowel, it's also a consonant. Let's look at the Latin vowels first. And please keep in mind that the sounds of vowels in English are bizarre. Thanks to a phenomenon known as the Great Vowel Shift, our mapping of sounds to vowels does not correspond to the mapping of sounds to vowels in other European languages, as you will already know if you have ever studied any other European language. I just wanted to put this out there before anyone complains that E is pronounced like A and I like E. Latin is not the problem. English is the problem. Latin vowels are pure. They each have just two sounds. English is hard, Latin is easy. The letter A is either short as the in about, or long as the in father. Latin examples: ud, Romanus. Latin A is never pronounced as the English A in either cat or Kate. English vowels are bizarre. Latin has two sounds for A, or ah. That's it. Two sounds, long and short, ah. The letter E is either short as in get, or long A as in cake. Latin examples: short, sed, which means but, or long as the first syllable in separo. Again, the letter E in Latin has just two sounds, short long A. The letter I is short as in kin, or long E as in machine. Latin examples: short vowel in, long vowel like the first syllable of liber. The letter I has just two sounds, short long E. The letter O is either short, which should be pronounced like the in ought, but even shorter, or long O as in go. Latin examples: short, nox, long, known. The letter O has two sounds, short, long, O. The letter U can be short, as in book, or long, oo, as in food. Our Latin example is a 2-for-1 special, murus, means wall. The letter U has just two sounds, short U, long U, oo. The letter Y is used only in words deriving from Greek. It is pronounced like the letter I in Latin. Latin example, Polybius, a Greek historian from Megalopolis brought to Rome as a prisoner of war. And now for our consonants. Consonants have just one sound each. But which one? Most of them represent the same sounds as they do in English, so we omit them. Two of the problem children are problematic, however, because we, in English, let them get away with making two sounds. Latin is stricter. These consonants only get to represent one sound. The letter C is always pronounced like a K, like the C in car. Latin example, Kaisar, not Caesar. Where do you think the Germans got their Kaiser? Yes, they did not change the pronunciation of C. The letter G is always hard, G, as the G in game. Latin example, gemma. The word means gem, but in classical Latin, the pronunciation is always hard, G, gemma. The letter I, as we've seen, is also a vowel, but it can be used to indicate the sound we represent with the consonant Y, as pronounced, for example, in the word yummy. A Latin example, the word yum, which means now. Older editions of Latin texts sometimes represented consonantal I with a J. For example, yum spelled with a J instead of an I. But this practice has fallen out of favor. And in general, we find consonantal I, ya, at the beginning of words in front of other vowels, as in yum. R. I doubt the Romans used a hard American R. So please feel free to trill the R if you are so inclined. But it's not necessary. Let's take the word for Roman. Would they have said Romanus? I can't trill. Romanus. I can try. I could do a German trill. Romanus. But I think I prefer the American. So it's probably a good thing the Romans aren't around to make fun of American accents. V. In this course, we will sound the letter V as a W. And this will take some getting used to. Caesar, for example, famously said, I came, I saw, I conquered. You may know the phrase as Veni, vidi, vici. Well, I'm sorry, but Caesar most likely said Veni, vidi, vici. By the way, the Romans did not use the letter W. In fact, the three letters U, V, and W all derive from the letter V. Is that it? Almost. There's also a class of vowel sounds that arise when two vowels are combined. These are called diphthongs. Not only are diphthongs a combination of two vowels, they're actually a combination of two vowels pronounced at the same time, so as to produce a single sound that is a combination of both sounds. You don't believe me? Let's experiment. AE. A plus E yields the I sound we find in the English word ice. Please say ah. Now say A. Say ah, A. Try and say them at the same time. Ah, A. I. Experiment a bit on your own. Latin example, Caesar. Aeternus. OE. O plus E yields the oi sound we find in oil. Please say O, A. At the same time, oe, oi, oi. Result, oi. Latin examples, moenia, walls, coiptes, undertakings. AU. A plus U yields the ow sound we find in howl. A plus U. Try saying them at the same time. Au, ow. Latin example, Paulus, a famous general, or Paulus, a famous apostle. EU. This diphthong only appears in words deriving from Greek and would have originally sounded like the O umlaut in German schön, beautiful. In practice, most Americans pronounce it as the U sound in eucalyptus. But if we like, we could also say eucalyptus, eucalyptus. Let's review our problem children. First, the consonants. C, always K. Please repeat after me. Caesar, Carus, Kibus. G, always hard. G, please repeat. Gemma. Genesis. Gigno. I as a consonant. Ya. Please repeat. Yam. Janitor. Januarius. V. We pronounce it as a wa. Please repeat. Weini. Weedy. Weeky. And the vowels. A. Short. Please repeat. Ud. Capio. Ub. Long. Please repeat. Mater. Frater. E. Short. Please repeat. Sed. X. Medulla. Long. A. Please repeat. Reges. The vowel I. Short I. Please repeat. In. Video. Bis. Long I pronounced E. Please repeat. Vinum. Sentire. O. A short O. Please repeat. Possum. Nox. Long O. Known. Please repeat. Known. Pono. And the vowel U. Short Please repeat. Nux. Cum, as in cum laude. Long U. Please repeat. Murus. Nutrix. Sudor. AE. A plus E yields I. Caesar. Please repeat. Caesar. Aeternus. Ice. OE. O plus E yields Oi. Please repeat. Moinia. Coipit. Poina. AU. A plus U yields Au. Please repeat. Out. Causa. Paulus. This is a manageable list. But when we look at a Latin word and try to pronounce it, where do we put the accent? This is a vexed question. If we observe modern versions of Latin, we find that some forms of modern Latin, French and Catalan, for example, do not have a strong stress accent. Italian and Spanish, on the other hand, like English, do. Where to put the stress? The rules are relatively simple. If a word has two syllables, always accent the first syllable. Caesar. If a word has three or more syllables, then you only have two choices. The accent goes on the second to the last syllable if the vowel in the second to last syllable is long or counts as long. A short vowel counts as long if it's followed by two or more consonants. If the vowel in the second to the last syllable is short, then the accent falls on the third to the last syllable. These are your only two choices. Let's look at a few examples. Caesar. Caesar, Caesar, has two syllables, so the accent is on the first syllable. Please repeat after me. Caesar. What about this three-syllable word? Libertas, which means freedom. This is a tough one. There are three syllables, so we have to decide. Second to the last or third to the last. By the way, we have a fancy Latin term for counting syllables. We could, using traditional Latin terms, call the last syllable the ultima, which means last, and the second to last syllable the penult, that means almost last, and the third to the last syllable the antepenult, that is, before the almost last. And really, why use English when fancy Latin terms are available? By going back to libertas, our choice is simple. Second to the last, penult, or third from the end, antepenult. Is the E in libertas long or short? It's short, actually, but it counts as long. Why? According to the rule I mentioned, vowels followed by two or more consonants count as long. We therefore say libertas and not libertas. Please try saying it 3 times. Libertas, libertas, libertas. That's what Caesar claimed he was defending, by the way, when he destroyed the Roman Republic. Libertas. And even if we say liberty, the word still has a certain ring to it in Latin. Libertas. Why? 2 consonants after the vowel E in the second to the last syllable, which some of you may already be calling the penult. Let's try another 3-syllable word, A-M-A-M-U-S. What's the pronunciation? Amamus or amamus? Is the A in the penult, the second to the last syllable, long or short? There's only 1 consonant after it. It's long, but you probably wouldn't know that unless I marked it as long, and we will in this course make every effort to mark long syllables with long marks, which we call macrons. There should be a macron or long mark over the second A in amamus. And of course, the Romans themselves did not use macrons. We put them in our texts for ourselves. The Romans didn't need them. At any rate, the penult, or second to last syllable, is long, so it gets the accent. Please repeat, amamus. And you may be wondering, are there words with the accent on the antepenult, that is, the third to the last syllable? Yes, many. Let's take a look at a verb that means we kill. The word has 5 syllables, interficimus. But in Latin, the accent can only fall on the penult, second to the last, or the antepenult, third from the end. There are no other choices. So is it interficimus or interficimus? The I in the second to the last syllable is not long by position because it is followed by only 1 consonant, NM. And we're not putting a macron over it. So is it long by nature? No. For this type of verb, the I is short by nature. So we correctly say interficimus. We kill. Shall we? Please repeat. Interficimus. 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 We are killing it indeed, and we should be proud. So let's review. If the word has 2 syllables, accent the first syllable. If the word has 3 or more syllables, accent the penult if it is long, amamus. Otherwise, accent the antepenult, interficimus. A vowel in the penult can be long by position, that is, if it's followed by 2 consonants, as in libertas, or it can be long by nature, as in amamus. Practice makes perfect, and we'll be doing a lot of repetition. So please don't worry. And in fact, now that we've learned the basic principles, we can drill, baby, drill. Let's practice with something longer that could well represent an auspicious beginning for our first lecture. Let's practice with day 1 from the creation of the universe in the first chapter of Genesis, verses 1 through 3. We'll use the Latin of Jerome's Vulgate, and you may find that the text sounds familiar, even if you have never studied a word of Latin before in your life. We are going to pronounce the words using the restored classical pronunciation, not the church or ecclesiastical Latin pronunciation, which I freely admit is also beautiful. And that is, in fact, the pronunciation one generally hears in concerts. And I certainly have no objections to it. In fact, I rather like it. But our course focuses especially on classical Latin, so we'll drill the classical standard, which I submit, like its ecclesiastical counterpart, is exceptionally beautiful. Please allow me to recite our practice verses from Genesis. In principio creavit Deus caelum et terram. Terra autem erat inanis et vacua, et tenebrae super faciem abyssi, et spiritus Dei Feribatur super aquas. Dixitque Deus fiat lux, et facta est lux. And now let us conclude by reading through this text together. I will read a phrase and then pause. When I pause, please repeat the phrase I've just recited. In principio, creavit Deus, caelum et terram. Terra autem erat in nanis, et vacua, et tenebrae super faciam abyssi, et spiritus Dei feribatur super aquas. Dixitque Deus fiat lux, et facta est lux. And that, dear students of the Latin language, was day one in the creation of our new Latin world. Just one more thing, however, before you go, you've got some homework in your course guidebook, where you'll find exercises at the end of each lecture summary. These exercises review and drill the content we've covered. It's crucial to practice. You should feel comfortable with this lecture before going on to the next. So please, before you join me for Lecture 2, complete the exercises in the guidebook for Lecture 1. Practice your pronunciation of Latin, preferably out loud. Impress your friends and family. Turn up the volume. Until the next time then, enjoy your studies and be well. Valete.